We got a new, now we have the new now we have the new GOP House majority. Now they're the same as the old, but fucking worse. Now, after spending the Trump administration cutting taxes for the wealthy and massively raising military spending, congressional Republicans are back to caterwauling about deficits. Now, this one is just as predictable as the sun coming up in the morning. But when Republicans are in power, they give away the store, and then when the Democrats are called to clean up their fucking when the Democrats are called in to clean up the Republicans' mess, the Republicans immediately rant and rave about government spending and the debt. And this has been going on for decades, and it would have been short-sighted to expect anything different from them this time and around. Now, naturally, putting the safety net programs on the chopping block, basically that's what they're doing, and they're putting and the Washington Post reported this. In recent days, a group of GOP lawmakers has called for the creation of special panels that might recommend changes to Social Security and Medicare, which face genuine solvency issues that could result in benefit cuts within the next decade. Others in the party have resurfaced more detailed plans to cut costs, including by raising the Social Security retirement age to 70. Basically, you'll end up dying before then, and targeting younger Americans who have yet to obtain any federal benefits. Now, if that immediately brings to mind the word Simpson Bowles, and it makes you break out in a cold sweat, you might be like me and have PTSD from the last time this was introduced back in 2012. It didn't make it into law, but only because the Freedom Caucus refused to take yes for an answer when the Obama team opened the door for some serious reductions in the benefits. And that wasn't the first time Democrats offered up cuts to those programs and they were rebuffed. Now, going back to 1995 when the House Republicans shut down the government to force spending cuts, Bill Clinton offered cuts to Medicare and Speaker Newt Gingrich said it wasn't enough and he fucking walked away. Now, Republicans have been trying to do away with these vital programs from the moment they were introduced. Social Security was passed in 1935, and only 2% of the Democrats voted against it. Ironically, because it didn't go far enough, and 33% of the Republicans voted against it. Now, in those days, it was out of fealty to corporate America, which was appalled at the prospect of destroying initiative, discouraging thrift, and stifling responsibility. The program became popular and difficult to dislodge, but Republicans never gave up on trying to do away with it. And it wasn't long until the libertarian thinkers on the right were coming up with a new plan to replace that program with private investment accounts. And this long-standing dream was finally formally proposed by George W. Bush in 2005, and it went down in flames. Now, when the stock market crashed 3 years later in the epic financial crisis of 2008, that idea mercifully died in a quiet death. Now, Medicare had the same trajectory. Former President Ronald Reagan helped to make his name as an opponent of Social Security and Medicare back in the early 1960s. Now, in those years before social media, he had a big hit with the spoken word record album entitled "Ronald Reagan Speaks Out Against Socialized Medicine," which came out in 1961 as the program was still in the proposal stage. And this is what Reagan said. One of the traditional methods of imposing staticism or socialism on a people has been by a way of medicine. It's very easy to disguise a medical program as a humanitarian project, but most people are a little reluctant to oppose anything that suggests medical care for people who possibly cannot afford it. It's simply an excuse to bring about what they wanted all the time, socialized medicine. But the GOP's opposition had never ceased. When he was a congressman, Vice Squatter Mike Pence, voted against Medicare Part D, the program's drug benefit, along with a dozen other Republicans, and I don't think I need to recapitulate the historical opposition to Obamacare, which they also claimed was a swift descent into socialist fucking hell. Now, opposition to any and all safety net programs is in the right's DNA. The problem for them, however, is that these programs are popular, so they have been unsuccessful in eliminating them altogether. So instead, they managed to protect their wealthy benefactors from having to kick in more money, which they could easily afford to shore up the finances. If they can slowly starve the programs and the people who depend upon them, they may just win in the long run. But what's different with the new Republican majority's plans is that there is no ideological rationale for doing it anymore. In the past, you had the likes of Reagan and Gingrich, influenced strongly by anti-communism and libertarian, and the free market dogma proposing to end these so-called entitlement programs because they were evidence of creeping socialism. And the evidence of anti-tax activist Grover Norquist, the federal government must be shrunk to a size so small that it can be drowned in the bathtub. Small government and local control were their watchwords. Now today, what we have known as the modern conservative movement barely exists in any recognizable sense. They constantly throw the words freedom and socialism around, but they have no discernible meaning except as weapons in the culture war. The GOP governors, like Florida's Ron DeSantis, require business to bend to his will or risk state sanction, while books and topics that Republicans don't like are being officially censored by the government and public schools and universities. They're full-blown authoritarian. Their supposed libertarian ethos, always pretty weak in my opinion, drowned itself in the bathtub when Donald Trump came down that golden escalator. This new House majority is driven by one thing and one thing only: owning the Democrats, shutting down the government, or holding the debt ceiling hostage for the ostensible purpose of lowering the deficit is just a power play to them for the purpose of showing what they can do. If they have to crash the world economy in the process, so fucking be it. It remains to be seen if this new House majority will use the safety net as leverage in their debt-ceiling game of chicken, but Donald Trump is adamantly against it because his feral instinct tells him that even attempting to do so is unpopular with older voters, his inbred base. The fact that instead of putting it directly into the negotiations and instead creating some special panels to look into it, suggests that even the House crazies understand that the risks are high with no chance of reward. Now, President Joe Biden will never sign a bill cutting these programs in an election year, but they'll put on some kind of show for the faux crowd anyway. But after all, if the whole point is to own the Democrats, the mere threat is all it takes to make their followers a thrill. Now, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.